This is when I'm going to get more into my situation with depression. So, this is going to be rough. So, when I was a freshman, I was a little older, and so that meant there was a little bit more responsibility. I kind of had everything stripped away from me. That's the definition of really what depression means, is you are in this deep state of sadness because everything was taken away. So everything I held valuable was taken away. My good friendships, I've lost friends. My good grades, horrible grades. My starting basketball star spot, taken away. I didn't have my parents, they were always busy, and I always thought I was an inconvenience to them. So I didn't bother them. And so I was by myself, as I viewed it. And that was my fault. I should have gone to someone.
I like how you said, as I viewed it.
As I viewed it. It was me. And so, this is so hard to talk about because it's like, you just remember it all. And you just remember the feeling a little bit. And it's rough. And this is the thing, I want to say this. Imagine your saddest thought you've ever had. And imagine your most shameful, embarrassing, whatever it is, thought you've ever had. And put them together. That was the feeling I had every night for 8 months to a year. I thought I was a good Christian while I was doing all this other crap. Not reading the Bible, cursing in my prayers, cursing against the Lord, not watching porn. And that's when it really got bad, was during depression. I leaned on it really heavily.
Yeah.
Because that was what I found valuable. And that wasn't. And so this was when it got really bad. It was that first part of the year. And that's when I was kind of debating just to give up. And so I was debating this with God. And it just really pushed me. And I was believing the devil's lie that you are nothing. And I just want this to make clear. Don't ever believe that lie. Because even if you're the most vile human, you are still something. Maybe not something good, but you're something. Nothing is absence of everything. That's not true. Search the Lord. For anyone who hears this and they're struggling with anxiety and depression, search for the Lord. I've never been more joyful in my life than I am now. I'm getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about that. Never been more joyful in my life to think about that now. Because the Lord has saved me from me. Me. And so I really want to make it clear to people. It feels like you can get through it by yourself. And maybe there are ways. I didn't do therapy. That was not a great choice. I'm going to admit that now. I didn't do that. Because I was avoiding it at all costs. Until I realized my parents weren't going to send me to therapy. They were going to send me to counseling from Christian men. I hope this is like that sometimes. Where it's counseling to Christian men. Yeah. That's what we need a little bit more than therapy. Because therapy is limited. Because it won't talk about Christ. You need Christ. So if you're I want to make this so clear. If you are really struggling with depression, go to your pastor, go to a spiritual leader in your life. And if your parents are good, like if your depression isn't caused by them, like sometimes it is. I don't know everyone's situation. Yeah. Mine wasn't, obviously, because I have a beautiful family. You go to whoever you know who's spiritually right. Because if you're listening to this podcast, like, you're obviously searching for something. Yeah. And so go to the Lord. I went to church, and then we sung a song called Throne Room. This is probably my all-time favorite worship song. Halfway through, there's a chorus, and it says, "The veil is torn, the doors swing wide. I see glory as I run inside the throne room." And I just started weeping. This uncontrollable weeping. This probably is the only time I've had like a true emotional breakdown. Like I could barely talk. And So afterwards, I got myself together and I was just going to leave. And Derek came up to me. Pastor Lamb came up to me and he said, "How are you doing, Jude?" I went, "I'm doing fine." He asked me the one question that this still brings me a little bit of tears. "Really?" That's the question we should always ask people, is really. As soon as he said really, I was like, nope, I'm not making it. I just started uncontrollably crying. That's when I just kind of lost it. I lost composure. And on the way out, Derek went, "Jeremy." He just grabbed my dad. Yeah. And we just walking out of church. I was like, I'm going to look so weird right now with these two big men beside me just like carrying me outside because I can barely walk.
Wow.
But I was
so you were physically limp is what it sounds like.
Borderline. I could barely walk.
Yeah.
This was rough. So I got outside and we got, at church, we have our stairs up to our front door. We go to the sides of the stairs and we get to the wall and I just lean against the wall and just start weeping. And they just let me kind of just go through it and just weep. And they asked good questions. In this conversation, I did hide that I had been struggling for a long time with it. Mm-hmm. I was hiding that I was still watching porn. I was hiding a lot of this stuff still. But at this time, they were asking me questions about why today am I like this. I don't know if this was the turning point. It could have been.
Yeah.
But I truly don't know. This is going to make me cry. After we were done, Derek prayed over me, and Dad hugged me. And he said, "I love you so much." And he just hugged me. Yeah. Not trying to get everyone to cry, but that was one of the most joyful hugs in my life. It was one of the most loving things my father's ever done. I just felt his love, and that was really important. I hope he listens to this and starts crying. And so I've been blessed by God. I've been blessed by God to have that environment. Some people don't, and they have to find it.
Yeah.
So always bring it back to Jesus. As the saying, Jesus, he spoke to me in that way. He said, "You're not forsaken. You were loved."
And I mean, look at the impact and how strong that was, just that your dad was there to say,
just that.
"I love you." Yeah.
And it was a long embrace. It was the longest embrace I've definitely ever gotten from Dad. It was like a minute. And he wasn't the one who let go. That reminds me of what it will be like when we enter the throne room. And Jesus will do that. Mm-hmm. That's the thought that always gets me to lose it a little bit. So that was just a really emotional and spiritually challenging time. There were some wild things that happened spiritually. I went through a crazy sleep paralysis. And so this walk with definitely depression was not easy. If you're not able to, for the young men out there, go find these spiritual men. I'm going to keep saying this, spiritual men who will point you back to Jesus and who can talk to you.
That's really important.
Yeah, it is. And I hope this podcast can relieve some of that. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Talking about
it's a lot harder for some than others too.
Yeah, this is not easy to talk about for me, guys. There's only a few people I have really had long conversation about this with. And again, not easy, but I'm always very happy to share it because I'm like, look at what Jesus has done.